So we are recording. All right. So y'all, the second section we're going to go over today is P7. So P7, y'all, just talks a little bit about fractions and decimals and percents. Okay, so the really important part here, y'all, is that, excuse me, get my pen going. Okay, a percent means out of 100. Okay, it's really important, excuse me, it's really important to understand that percent means out of 100. So y'all, when I look at this problem, the first thing I want you to notice, look what it says, 100 adults. Okay, so we're in a good spot already. 100 adults were asked to name their favorite sport, and the results are shown in the circle graph. Okay, what sport was preferred by the most adults? So y'all, if we look at that pie chart right there, which one had the biggest piece? Anyone know? Just by looking at the picture, which one had the biggest part? Football, right? So we're going to go football, right? We're going to go football. Okay, and what percent like football? What's the number that we have there? 37, right? So y'all, because it's out of 100 adults, we can say 37%, right? Now, if it didn't say out of 100 adults, we'd have to figure something else out. But for the first problem, they made it real easy, breezy, cover girl. So we could say that. Which was the least important, or the least volleyball, right? All right, so volleyball. And anybody know what percent like volleyball? 3, right? So we're going to say 3%. Okay. Now, y'all, when it says which ones like football or soccer, what we're going to do is we're going to take the football folks and we're going to take the soccer folks and we're going to add them together. So 13 plus 37 is going to give us something like what, 50? 50%. Okay, it's supposed to be a 13, not the letter B. Okay, and then when we say basketball or baseball, we're going to take basketball and we're going to add baseball. So basketball or baseball is 15 and basketball is 20. So 15 plus 20, 35%, right? Boom, there we go. Okay. So y'all, now we're going to figure out what happens if we have a percent and we want to write it as a fraction. Remember what the percent means. Percent meant out of how much? Out of 100. So look, y'all, 7%, 7 over 100. Now, if we can reduce the fraction, we want to go ahead and do that. And if we can't reduce the fraction, we're going to leave it alone. Okay, 150% as a fraction would be 150 out of 100. Okay, now y'all, I want you to think about how we could reduce these numbers. Could we divide them by 50? Okay, if we were to divide them, say both by 50, how many times does 50 go into 100? Anybody know? 2, right? 50, but not, it doesn't go in 50 times. 2 50s give me 100, so that means it goes in twice. How many 50s do we need to get 150? 3, right? Boom, and then you're done. All right, let me scroll down a little bit further here in my list, y'all, and let's take a look at the next one. We're going to talk about how do we change a percent to a decimal. We're going to take our number and we're going to divide it by 100. So look, y'all, I'm going to take my calculator. Where is it? Boom, right here. All right. A couple ways you can do this, y'all. Look, I'm going to take 38. I'm going to divide it by 100. Look at the number we get, 0.38. So right here, I'm going to write 0.38. The second thing says we're going to drop the percent sign. So that's all I'm going to write. Okay. Let's try the same thing here. Look, y'all, 175. I'm going to take 175, and we're going to divide it by what number? 100. Let's go divide it by 100 equals 1.75. And again, we're going to drop the percent sign, so we're done. Okay. Let's try the one over here on the left. Or on the right, I'm sorry. We got 4. Let's take 4 and divide it by 100. 0.04. and we're going to leave the percent sign alone. Okay. Now, got one more for y'all, 5.2, and we're going to divide it again one more time, y'all, by 100, 0.052, and you're done. That's all you got to do. Real easy breezy cover girl, right? Okay. Let's see what we got next here in our list. Okay, now we're going to go backwards, y'all. We're going to go from a decimal to a percent. So before, y'all, we were dividing by 100, right? So now look at our first step. What are we going to do now? We're going to multiply. So look, y'all, I'm going to take my calculator. Okay, 0.27. We're going to go times 100. Just the number 27. And look at the second part. Now we're going to add the percent sign. Boom, there we go. Okay. All right, let me do the next one, y'all. 0.09 times, again, 100, 9, and then again, we're going to add the percent sign. Okay. Let's try these two over here on the right. First thing we're going to do, 3.2 times what number again? Times 100. Good. Okay. 320. Boom. Add the percent sign. Okay. 1.4 times, again, 100. 140. Again, add the percent sign, right? We're done. All right, let's try this next one here, y'all. It says, can we change the fraction to a decimal? So let me show you how we're going to change our fraction to a decimal. Y'all, all we're going to do, we're going to divide. We're going to take the top number and divide it by the bottom one. So look, I'm going to go like this. What's 1 divided by 4? 1 divided by 4, 0.25. Let's try the next one. Let's take 4 divided by 5. 4 divided by 5, 0.8. Okay. All right. Let's do the next one. Let's take 3 and divide it by what? 8, right? So always the top, always divided by the bottom. 3 divided by 8, 0.375. Okay. And here we go. We got another one. 23 divided by 4. 23 divided by 4 is 5.75. Okay. Now, y'all, I got a question for y'all. Do we know how to change decimals to percents? Didn't we just do that right now? Didn't we say we're going to multiply each of those numbers by how much? What was the number we're multiplying by? Because percent means out of how much again? Out of 100. So look, y'all, all we're going to do, my friends, is we're going to take each of those numbers because they're the same fractions that we got right here. And we're going to take those decimal numbers and we're going to multiply them by 100. Can somebody do me a favor? If you got your calculator in front of you, can you take 0.25 times 100 and tell me what you get? 0.25 times 100 is just, anyone know? 25. Look, y'all, 25%. Okay. 0.8. 0.8 times 100? 80. 80%. Okay. Right here, y'all. 0.375 times 100. What are you coming up with? 37.5. Very good, with a percent. And one last one, y'all. 5.75 times 100. 575. Again, with a percent sign, right? Boom. And you're done. Okay. All right. Let's go back again just a little bit more, y'all. We've already kind of done some of this before. How do we write a percent as a fraction? So remember, a percent means out of how much again? What did a percent mean? Out of how much? Out of 100, right? So look, y'all, 40%. 40 out of 100. Okay, I'm going to try to reduce this fraction. Y'all, if I'm going to reduce this fraction, look, let me get rid of the zeros first. So we got 4 over 10, okay? What do you think we can divide 4 and 10 by? 2, right? Good, very good, y'all. We can divide them both by 2. And 2 goes into 4 2 times. Anybody know how many times 2 goes into 10? 2 goes into 10, how many times? What do you think? 5? Good. Thank you, Andre. All right. 125%, y'all. 125%. Look what we're going to do. We're going to go 125 over 100. Okay, y'all, let's think about dividing these by quarters, by 25s. Okay. If we were to divide them both by 25 cents, okay, how many quarters would you need to get $1? 4, right? Good. Y'all, if you had $1.25, how many quarters would you have had? 5. Boom. There you go. All right, y'all, I'm going to come back to the 1.91 in a second, okay? I'll come back to that one in a minute. Let's do the 400 and the 275. So remember, y'all, percent means out of 100. So look, we're going to go 400 divided by 100. So y'all, you can do it like this. You can say, look, let's cancel out those zeros. So we got 4 divided by 1, and 1 goes into 4 nice and neat. 4 times, okay. And this one down here, y'all, 275 over 100. Y'all, I want you to think about this for a second. Again, look, we're going to divide them both by 25, okay? So we already said, if we have $1, how many quarters would we have had if we had $1? 4, right? Okay. Now, y'all, I want you to think for a minute. I want you to think, if you had $2.75 all in quarters, how many quarters would you need to get $2.75? How many quarters would you need to get $1? 4. How many quarters would you need to get $2? 8. Okay, so you got 8 so far because you got $2. How many quarters do you need to get 75 cents? 3 of them, right? So look, y'all, if you already had 8 quarters for the $2 and you got another 3 for the 75, how many quarters do you got total? Somebody said it. 11. Boom, there you go. Does that make sense? So y'all, I'm trying to relate stuff to like things that we all did as kids. At some point in time, you were as a kid. Y'all, when I was a kid, I didn't have no iPad. You guys might have grown up with iPads or Game Boys or whatever. But we didn't have any of that stuff, right? We had one TV. My dad's watching TV. Guess who's not watching TV? Me. My dad's watching the news, and I'm 7 years old. I don't want to see what's on the news. So I got to find things to do, right? But any time you didn't have anything to do, and you got money, you start playing with the money. So you know how to kind of make these correlations, right? All right. So y'all, let's try this one. We got the 1.9%. Okay. The first thing we're going to do, y'all, is we're going to change that percent to a fraction by writing the number 1.9 out of, how much do we say a percent means? Out of how much again? Out of 100, right? Okay. Now, we got a little bit of a problem here. The problem that we have here is that we have a decimal point. How many numbers do we have after that decimal point right now? Just one, right? We got the 9. So what we're going to do, y'all, is we're going to move that decimal point this way. So now that's going to become a 19. But if I moved it over one space, y'all, what we got to do, we got to add an extra 0. So now we have 19 out of 1,000, and we'll leave it like that. Okay. All right. And I think, y'all, we got a few more problems here. These last 3 here. And again, we kind of did these already, y'all. And I'll tell you what, we're going to skip the second one. We're going to get rid of this one right there. We're not going to do that. But we are going to do the first one. We're going to change the fraction to a percent. Look, y'all, let's do this. Let's change this fraction to a decimal. Remember how we change a fraction to a decimal? We take 9 divided by 20. 9 divided by 20, 0.45. Now, anybody remember how do we change 0.45 to a percent? Times it by 100. Okay, so let's do this. Times 100. Boom. Look at that, y'all. 45%. Okay. All right, let's do the next one. 1.5. Y'all, do you remember like the first maybe week of school? I think it was the first week. We did changing mixed numbers and improper fractions. So we said, look, we're going to take 2 times 1. What's 2 times 1? 2. And then what do we got to do with the number on the top? Add it, right? So what's 2 plus 1 more? 3. 3 over 2. Okay. Now let's change 3 over 2 to a decimal. So remember what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to take our calculator. We're going to go 3 divided by 2. Okay. We're going to get 1.5. Okay. Now we want to write that as a percent. So we said we're going to take 1.5 and we're going to multiply it by 100, 150%, right? So right here, y'all, we're going to write 150. Okay, so my friends, I got the last one right here. We're going to write 1/12 as a percent. So look, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our calculator. 1 divided by 12. Boom. Okay, look what I'm coming up with, y'all. A bunch of decimals. Okay, I'm going to write a bunch of those decimals out. Okay. Now, remember what we want to do, y'all. We want to change this to a percent, right? So look, we're going to go like this. Do y'all remember how we said we change it to a percent? We got to multiply it by what number? Anyone? 100, right? Okay, look. So here we go, y'all. I'm going to write 8 point, and I'm going to write a bunch of 3s here. Something like that, right? I got a bunch of 3s. Now, I want y'all to do me a favor. I want you to go back and look at your notes, okay? And I want you to look at the notes, this little chart, y'all, where we got the place values, okay? From the decimal point, which is the hundreds? If here's my decimal point, the hundreds is which one? The first, the second, the third, the fourth, which one? The second one. Okay, so this is the 3 that I'm looking at rounding. So my question is, y'all, in order for me to look at that 3 and decide if I'm going to round it, I got to look at the number to the right of it. If this number is 4 or smaller, we're going to leave these guys alone. If this number is 5 or bigger, we're going to change that 3 into a what? Into a 4. Should we leave it as a 3 or should we change it to a 4? What do y'all think? Look at the number right here. Yeah. If this number was 5 or bigger, we would have changed it, but it isn't. So we're going to leave it as 8.3. And there you go. Okay. So y'all, that's all we're doing here in P7, okay? So y'all, that is the 2 sections that I wanted us to go through today. Let me stop recording it. Boom. Stop it.